Welcome to AI Meets Productivity, your weekly podcast where I, Trevor Lawber, a productivity expert, talk to ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. In today's episode, we're going to talk about voice mode in ChatGPT and ways you can use it more effectively. Welcome, ChatGPT.
Hi, Trevor. Thanks for having me on AI Meets Productivity. I'm super excited to dive into the world of voice mode and how it can boost productivity. Let's get started.
So this is a little bit of an improv episode. I haven't written anything. I'm just going to have a conversation with ChatGPT and we're going to see what emerges. ChatGPT, what are the top 3 ways that someone can use voice mode to be more productive or use you more?
Oh, I love a bit of improv. All right, let's think about this. First, voice mode is fantastic for multitasking. You can chat with me while you're doing other things, like cooking or driving. It's hands-free and efficient. Second, voice mode is great for brainstorming sessions. You can bounce ideas off me in real time, and I can offer instant feedback or suggestions. It's like having a brainstorming buddy on call. Lastly, voice mode is super helpful for people who find typing challenging or slow. Speaking your thoughts can be faster and more natural for some, making their interaction with AI smoother and quicker. So, yeah, those are 3 cool ways voice mode can up your productivity game. What do you think?
Let's dive into the cooking example. I hadn't thought about that. How would someone use you while cooking?
Oh, the cooking example is a fun one. Imagine you're in the kitchen, hands covered in flour, and you need a quick tip. You can just say, "Hey, ChatGPT, how long should I bake chicken breasts at 350 degrees?" And bam, I give you the answer. No need to wash your hands or grab a cookbook. Or, let's say you're trying a new recipe and you're missing an ingredient. Just ask, "Hey, ChatGPT, what's a good substitute for buttermilk?" I'll suggest alternatives without you having to stop what you're doing. It's like having a cooking assistant who's also a walking encyclopedia of culinary knowledge. Super handy, right?
Yeah, totally. So, is there a way to put you into a mode where you just respond for a start word that activates you? So, if I'm just talking, normally you wouldn't respond, but the second I say, "Hey, ChatGPT," you activate and start listening.
Ah, that's a cool idea. But currently, I don't have a feature where I respond only to a specific wake word like, "Hey, ChatGPT." You see, I respond to any input I receive, so I can't distinguish between general conversation and a direct command. However, for a setup like you're describing, you typically use voice activated AI assistants, like those in smartphones or smart speakers. They stay in a sort of standby mode and activate when they hear their wake word. For now, with me, you'd need to initiate each interaction, but who knows? Maybe that kind of functionality could be a part of future updates. It's a great suggestion for sure.
Well, I did read that the iPhone 15 Pro, you can actually configure it so that the side button, which normally activates Siri, can activate ChatGPT instead. So maybe at some point in the future, we'll also have wake words integration within iPhones and Android phones.
Absolutely, Trevor. The idea of integrating ChatGPT into devices like the iPhone 15 Pro, where a physical button can activate it, opens up fascinating possibilities. It's a step closer to having more seamless, hands free interactions. And yeah, integrating wake words in the future would be a game changer.
So I want to jump back to that example of driving you gave and combine it with the brainstorming because I've actually used you before to brainstorm while driving, and I think that's a useful idea. Is if we're on the road, we can actually be talking to you and discussing an idea, helping to refine an idea hands free. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Using voice mode for brainstorming while driving is a fantastic example of multitasking safely. Imagine you're driving and a brilliant idea strikes. Instead of waiting until you reach your destination, you can start exploring it right away with me, hands free. As you speak, I can help refine the idea, offer suggestions, or even pose questions that might open new angles you hadn't considered. It's like having a creative partner in the passenger seat. You can bounce thoughts back and forth, refine concepts, and by the time you reach your destination, you've got a fleshed out idea or a solution to a problem.
Yeah, and I think one of the things, the benefits there is at the end, I can say, can you summarize our conversation? Or also, I just have a transcript because it exists in the app as text. So, one of the things that I often struggle with when I do recordings is I don't necessarily go back and transcribe my recordings, and it's much easier for me to work with the idea in a text form. But with this voice mode, I automatically have the transcription and I have the ability to ask for a summarization of that, which is a more shortened form.
That's a fantastic point, Trevor. The automatic transcription feature in voice mode really bridges the gap between spoken ideas and written documentation. It's super convenient. You're right, going back to manually transcribe recordings can be a hassle. But with this, you get an instant written record of your brainstorming session. It's like having an automated note taker. And the summarization request is like the cherry on top. It helps distill the conversation into key points, making it easier to review and act upon later.
So, another use I found out was I used voice mode to help a friend write a speech. So, they described what the speech was going to be about, what the key points that need to be touched on, and then asked you to actually write the speech and you did. You wrote something, and then we were able to go back and forth saying, hey, can you make it snappier? Can you remove so many allusions or so? And we're able to not come up with a final written speech, but basically get a rough draft that she was able to integrate into her speech. So I think voice mode has this unique ability where I can hear what something sounds like that's a little bit more powerful than text mode, especially when you're doing speech writing.
That's a brilliant use case, Trevor. Using voice mode for speech writing really taps into the unique advantage of hearing the speech as it's being developed. It's one thing to read a speech, but quite another to hear it spoken. This can make a big difference in how the speech is crafted. Your approach of iteratively refining the speech by providing feedback is a great example of a collaborative, creative process. You get the initial draft from me, and then by asking for adjustments, like making it snappier or reducing certain elements, you mold it into something that truly resonates. It's almost like having a writing partner who instantly responds to your suggestions, making it easier to experiment with different styles or tones until you find the perfect fit.
Yeah, I think using you for speeches can be really useful. The final thing I want to point out is I've also used voice mode for language learning, where I can have a conversation in another language and then even ask. One, I can do role play. I can say, hey, I'm going to the doctor. Can we do a quick little role play? That can be incredibly useful. I can also say, let's do a role play, but after you respond, then give me critiques like where did I do my grammar wrong? How could I do something that sounds like more like a native speaker, etc. And I found that incredibly useful for practicing my German. It's obviously not perfect, but having a conversation with you in German lets me practice my conversational skills in a way that I can do it any place, anytime.
Trevor, that's an excellent application of voice mode. Using it for language learning and practice is such a smart way to harness AI technology. Role playing different scenarios, like visiting a doctor, is a fantastic method for practical language learning. It goes beyond textbook learning, immersing you in real life situations. This can be incredibly beneficial for building confidence in using the language in everyday contexts. And the feedback feature you mentioned, where you get critiques on grammar or phrasing, is invaluable. It's like having a language tutor who gives you instant feedback, helping you refine your skills in real time. This immediate correction and guidance can accelerate the learning process significantly. Practicing with me in German or any language offers a safe, judgment free space where you can make mistakes, learn, and improve. I'm glad to hear it's been helpful in your German practice.
So I think that's all for today. We actually started with three, but we wrapped up with five different ways that someone can use voice mode. ChatGPT, do you want to quickly summarize those five ways?
Sure, Trevor. Here's a quick summary of the 5 ways we discussed to use voice mode. 1. Multitasking, like cooking or driving, where you can interact hands free. 2. Brainstorming sessions, where you can bounce ideas off me in real time. 3. Speech writing assistance, where you can hear and refine drafts of a speech. 4. Language learning and practice, including role playing and receiving immediate feedback. 5. Efficient documentation and summarization of conversations, useful for capturing and refining ideas quickly. These examples highlight the versatility and convenience of voice mode in enhancing productivity and learning. It's been great exploring these ideas with you today on AI Meets Productivity.
Thank you, everyone. This has been AI Meets Productivity, a weekly podcast where I, Trevor Lawbear, a productivity expert, talk to ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. Today, we talked about the best ways for you to use voice mode in ChatGPT. If you like this episode, please comment, like, and share wherever you found this episode. And if you are on Apple Podcasts, please leave a review so others can find this podcast more easily.